thank you for joining us on Wednesdays.
It has been a great experience.
We've analysed, we've segmented, we've priced, and we've positioned,
Sliced and diced.
Stop the silos.
Gave practical advice.
Went all business and leisure.
We talked a lot about recovery best practices. Now it's time to put revenue management back into focus.
Let us help you become future-proof hotelier.
We will share our best practices and advice with you, starting from the beginning.
revenue hacks, back to basics.
Revenue hacks, back to basics.
Revenue hacks, back to basics.
Revenue hacks, back to the basics.
Revenue hacks, back to basics.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Revenue Hacks episode 13. We are on episode 13 already. So today we'll be talking about system integrations, connectivity, and everything that is around this topic. Today we're also joined by a special guest, Vasilis Soropoulos from Geo Analytics, and also get into more. Vasilis, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Before we start the session, let's introduce ourselves. We'll go around the screen for those who possibly tuning in for the first time or don't know us yet very well. Khristina, could we start with you, please?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Khristina Ridge. I'm a group revenue manager for a hotel company that owns and operates properties here in the UK and Ireland. And today I'm coming to you from Waterford. It's a nice change rather than Dublin, but it's still Reading.
Susanne?
I'm Susanne Williams. I'm the Revenue and Systems Director at Journey. We are a global marketing agency focused on performance, and we have a big tech division focused on the customer journey.
Lovely, thank you. And Berengere?
Hi, I'm B. So I'm the founder of MyOC. It's a revenue optimization consulting company, helping hotels to optimize revenue processes and help them with systems also. And today I'm going to be offline, actually, helping you answering all the questions on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much for that, Berengere. And my name is Olga Sommer. I'm a Cadis Revenue Manager of the Year, also mentor and St. Julius Scholar and committee member. Vasilis, now the mic is over to you. Would you be so kind to tell us about yourself, your role, and the two ventures that you're involved in as well, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Vasilis. I'm the founder of Geo Analytics and co-founder of Get Into More, both technology companies. At Geo, we help hotels with analytics make sense of their commercial performance. So really about getting all the data from all these different sources, PMS, external data sources, pricing, reviews, distribution, sort of breaking all these silos. So that's one of them. And then the other one is Get Into More, where we bring revenue management to meeting and events. So that's sort of how I spend my time.
That's a handful. That's quite a lot to handle. And you're the perfect host today, co-host for today's discussion. So last week we talked about the PMS, RMSs, and how the system, and also touched upon open APIs, which brought us to this week's discussion, which is all about connectivity, distribution, how the system talk to each other, whether they're all singing and dancing. So it may be obvious to many, I think, revenue managers that integration is really important. But the reality is we're still coming across the examples where someone is still doing quite a lot of manual work. Even last week, we had a listener of you who said they're still doing pricing and inventory manually for 10 online travel agencies. I mean, I personally thought those days are gone, but it's clearly not the case. So if we just open the conversation with the subject, what is the importance of connectivity and good distribution systems, and where do you see the benefits of it? Anyone?
Fast looks like he's about to jump in with something first, so go on.
No, go ahead. I'll jump after.
I think it's, yeah, go on.
Just really quickly, I'm not going to say much about this apart from the whole API question is about an open API. So is there such a thing as a closed API? I don't think there is. And when you're looking at APIs, for me, that connectivity should be about innovation. It should be about how hotels innovate, connect data, look at real-time guest experience and how that enhances the customer journey. That's it. For me, if it can't do that, I'm not interested.
I think it's very true, though. If you look at it from, in a sense, you want to put a name on it, call it a menu. An API is a menu. And if your system can't do it, that means your kitchen can't work to its full advantage. So why is your system saying you can do something when you can't actually offer that to the guest? Put it that way, you know. And the thing with API is it's expensive. There's a lot of hidden costs we did touch on last week. And I think a lot more people need to be a lot more open about it, whether there is hidden costs involved, because, it's all great saying we're a brand new PMS, we're a brand new system, we've got open APIs, we can link in with everyone. And then you're like, okay, well, can you link in with this? There's a cost. How much is it going to cost me? And sometimes the costs go up based on the connections that you need to have as well, And I think the one thing about it is everyone needs to have a proper system that works. We did touch on this last week, but, there's still FIT clients and B2B partners that actually don't integrate. They don't. You might have a connection with SiteMinder, but it's pointless getting something in like SiteMinder to pay for one channel. Like it's just mind-boggling. So that's how you can end up going and fixing 10 different rates and 10 different systems all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's become sort of this sort of answer, just standard sort of golden bullet answer, which says, "Oh, but there's an API, so it's all sorted out." And this is far from the truth. Having an API is just the start, but there's just so many things after that you need to ask us questions to sort of look at the details. To your point, are there any costs? Having an API doesn't mean it's free. True, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it brings us to the next point is like, there is the cost involved, but what are the benefits? Because if it is all related to a better result and being more efficient and bringing more revenue, then, that cost is justifiable. So what are the clear benefits you have seen in your business, or versus maybe in your examples with your customers where they have seen, really good investment and they've seen return on that investment as well?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the quality of the API as such. So as I was saying, cost is sort of one of the considerations, but the other consideration is, all right, like what kind of data does the API sort of, let's say, power? And if you're looking to solve one particular challenge, which is, it might be around connectivity, it might be around data, it might be around anything else, the key question is to say, okay, what kind of data is powered out of there? And that is sort of going to be what will determine if you're going to get value out of it. Not the fact that the API is available. Yeah.
And also from kind of sales and marketing perspective, because right now we'll be coming out of COVID-19 and I think that what we do in terms of sales and marketing campaigns, how we target, that will determine how much business we'll get out of it as well, how much money we'll be able to generate. What's your view on this? Where are the benefits or kind of easy fruit to get out of it? Low-hanging fruit, sorry.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit. Yeah, so I think, in today's world, what you really want to do is, we do data, so I'll take it from the data part, so to speak. You want to be as close to the customer and gather data as close to the customer as possible. So if you want to target, let's say, properly, you really need to know, hey, who's my customer? Where is he coming from? Where can I find him? How much do I sort of pay to acquire him? How much he's spending? So you need to get that sort of full picture of data. And so that's sort of the work that we are sort of doing. And, the challenge that we have as a company is that it's very hard, even though that these APIs are available, to get all these data points to build this complete, let's say, picture of that customer. So we spend a lot of time pushing property management systems or other partners to say, okay, you're giving me data, but you're giving me 50% of what I need for hotels to actually take the decisions. So there's definitely a challenge around there.
Seems to be, yeah.
I think the thing about data, we all love data, don't we? That's what we spend our days doing, analysing it. But for me, I've got two views on this really. On the one hand, I really always push for the most innovative, what good looks like, improving picture, and that's my vision for our hotels. But then on the other side, I kind of sit thinking, we can't even get reception to update profiles, and actually have that real-time data that you extract out. So I've got these two quite opposing views where I kind of fight with myself. My vision is very much connectivity, strong APIs, not a big massive tech stack, but something that just really works. It doesn't have to be a one-stop shop. It can be, a few different systems that work really well with strong connections, with good support. But on the flip side, that PMS, which is really the hierarchy of the system, that's where your information sits. If that's not right, what's the point? There has to be a balance of innovation, but equally really training at hotel level. And the whole purpose of what we do commercially has to lead it so that the reception understand the value of the profiles, the lifetime value of the guest, how your marketing impacts it, what's the customer journey. All these things come from front office and your PMS and then push out to these data systems. So that's the fight I have with myself about the whole API data conversation.
I totally agree with you, especially because now more than ever we find that hotels are using it as an excuse. The GDPR rules that came in place 2 years ago, and now it's a huge excuse from everyone. We can't put their data in because it's GDPR. We don't get consent to do this. Actually, technically, you do, and all you need to do is get them to sign the reg card. Legally, in different countries, you actually need to sign the registration card when you check into a hotel. For fire and safety regulations, you actually have to do it. So either be it virtually or whatever, your data should be corrected there, and hotels need to really do that, because I know, Susanne, just like you, I have that very strong thing about trying to drive as much business as we can direct, because I'm sorry, don't be a hotelier, do not come crying to me and say to me, my OTAs is 80%, my direct is 20% or even 5% and everything else is in between, because you're not capturing the data correctly. I know. It's simple, and that is the most frustrating thing, especially when you're a revenue manager and you're trying to instill this. Now, there's also an aspect with staff and training that, it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks, but, you need to start doing it, because as a revenue manager, you don't have time to sit down and go through each profile individually. That's reception's job. They're supposed to do that as part of their job. I'm sorry, simple as, so that we can actually make use of the fancy systems we are paying for to actually drive business, either be a CRM or by a sales tool or even through social media. It's great to be able to dive into the data so granular when we have everything correctly, because you can't do a proper sales strategy if you don't have the data. Simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it leads to a couple of points. Sorry, Susanne, go ahead.
No, it's just the one thing on the companies and how you set these things up, that the API is not the only part. For me, driving your PMS provider, not taking no for an answer when you want something done, keep going, because I think being tenacious is really important here. I've worked with a really old legacy system, and I know we're coming on to that really, it was okay. I'm not going to say any more, but we pushed it to get the information out of it that we wanted, then coupled that with a really amazing CRM, Salesforce, and really got the information that we wanted. So that was just an old legacy system, one bit of amazing tech, and the job was done because we pushed the PMS daily to get the information that we wanted. Don't give up. That's the message. Do not give up.
Yeah, because that's PMS is one of the key points where you get all the information. As long as you train your staff and the clear data goes into the system, then you should be able to get really good answers out of that. So it leads to two questions. One is the quality and speed really of the systems and connectivity. So in my career, I experienced that when a hotel is fully booked in London and there is, high demand, that you close the system, but you get still bookings 2 hours down the line. And that potentially will put a hotel into a situation where overbooked by 20 rooms or not filling hotel, and that's revenue lost. So that, the quality speed for me always been that really, pain point really for me. I don't know what your experience been so far. It seems to be Susanne agreed to that as well. And also, I think one of the questions we had is about the quality. Is it even possible to achieve that seamless connectivity?
First of all, quality and actual data is so important. You're right, Olga. Speed is everything. And one thing I'll always recommend to hotels is that they have two separate connections, one for the system that goes into the server directly and then one for your guests. Because if you've got a fully booked hotel, your guests are chugging on that Wi-Fi. or on anything, your server is going to, or your cloud-based system is going to slow down, and that causes problems, huge problems. I have a huge problem myself personally with systems being slow and with CRSs being slow and transmitting the data. We're in a world where everything is instant. If I can actually press my phone now to make a coffee for me in my Nespresso machine, I expect the same thing to happen from my system, to deliver that when I'm full, I'm full. Don't put me into an overbooking situation. Although we love it as revenue managers, there's always a bit of a challenge, especially with a high profile date. But you know what I mean? It's just a cost. And that's the one thing that PMS providers don't take into account. They don't say, they're like, hands up, that's not us. Now, that's also down to the provider side as well, the likes of the B2B channels, even the OTAs. They need to pick up their speed as well, because it's not just us, it's their connectivity to the channel managers via the APIs or whatever distribution centers they're using, like DerbySoft or, Galileo, GDS, anything like that. That is a huge problem.
So, and I suppose there is also, we should mention that it's not always the system's fault, because if we don't manage effectively whatever system we're talking about, you're not going to get the right kind of results, which we already touched upon. So the simple example is managing revenue management system. How many of us or revenue managers are still overriding price decisions instead of managing the system better? What is your take, or what is your advice how to manage the system in the most effective and the best way? Vasilis, any kind of from your experience, what you've witnessed with multiple companies and connectivity that you had to deal with?
I think, let's say, coming to the, as hoteliers, and I'm a hotelier, I've been involved with technology for just a short amount of time, but we are sort of very action driven. We want to be in control. So coming to the revenue management system, I think overrides is the main sport that we deal with. Let's say from a sort of system connectivity perspective, I think what a lot of us are trying to do, and I've done that myself, is I try to organize, to fit the systems into a little bit how I work. And I think you need to have a little bit of balance to say, okay, how do the systems that I sort of bought function? What is my way of working, and how do I bridge these two? There's a lot of things around, allocations and wholesalers and tour operators, and how do you manage all that business? And, you can question yourself, hey, the systems don't support this, but is it the right thing to do? So you need to look at it at both sides. So you can't really say, to your point, indeed, oh, the systems are not doing it for me. Maybe I also need to look at, hey, how do I function? Is that relevant to the world of today?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Susanne, I don't know if Susanne or Khristina has anything to add to that in terms of managing the system in a best possible way, efficiency, whether it's training staff or revenue managers should be taking the lead and doing job, accurate from the beginning.
I think one of the things is training, absolutely. And I also think that, again, understanding what happens when your system goes down is massively important, because if your system crashes, and I'm sure it's happened to everyone watching, well, what do you do? If you've never worked a manual system, I've been in hotels since before PMSs were a thing. We know how to put the bills together, do the reg cards, create that understanding of the basics of manual management really help you understand how the systems have evolved. And I think when you know that, it gives you real confidence to not worry about it crashing, but equally to understand the real logic and integrity of your system. So I guess just for me, I've seen the whole evolution of the systems. And it's one of the things that I massively keep on top of and make sure that staff are trained. But equally, who arrived in hotel reception and had full training on the PMS? No one does.
No.
You need to use your initiative. You get that mindset on and get in amongst that system. You're not going to break it. Learn what it does. Use your initiative. Be proactive. It's every time. I think reception, front office, reservations that want to progress, you can do it.
Yeah, and also it creates, if the revenue leaders take a lead on this and really train and support the team overall in the hotel, we will create this better overall total revenue management culture within the company.
Absolutely.
That brings greater results as well. Khristina, anything to add on to this point from your side?
I think it's down to as well that the vendors themselves actually ensuring that people have the correct tools and training, and that there is that online learning system portal that people have to sign in. You know, I think it should be mandated by hotels that if you've got a new starter, that person has to do this online training and they get a certificate. Simple, so that they show that they've been actually doing it. And that's the way there's a lot of stuff, like if you open different international chains, you actually can't open the hotel until everyone's done this particular training and have it, or you can't even go on live sale until these trainings are done. We need to start bringing this in, because you know what? I've started in hotels and I didn't even have a clue about a PMS. The first job I had, someone said to me, sit in front of that, learn what it does and figure it out yourself. And that was Hot Soft over 12 or 13 years ago in a hotel in Galway. I'll never forget it. And within a week, I was like tech savvy. And ever since then, I've always, but you see, once you find a love for a system, or you find love into that, then you kind of grow and you just don't leave it. And that's why I'm so passionate about tech and innovation. But that's also why it can't be just us in the hotels that have to take care of it. It's also the vendors, 110%. They need to give us the support. Why else am I paying a bloody support fee? Simple.
But this is the thing for me that really actually bakes my noodle with vendors, because they basically train on the system, the functionality, but say nothing else about the best way for it to work, or how to cross-reference, or how to extract your data. There's such an opportunity there. I don't think the vendors have got the skills in-house to actually give that information. The hotel policy, how you construct your rates, your market code, your origin code, your source code, how you cross-reference that data, what reporting you should use, what's the easiest way to do it, should all be part of that whole PMS install, and it never is. Well, it is for hotels that I install, but vendors don't do it. They just don't do it.
So while we are on the point of vendors, what are the questions, Vasilis, that's probably, you will be able to answer this question. What are the most common questions you are getting from hotels? Are the hotels even asking the right questions? And what we should be asking our vendors? One of them is clearly the training for providing with the systems.
Yeah, I think there's different questions that you can ask. So, for example, let's take it one by one. So, for instance, if you ask a vendor and they say, "Hey, do you have a connection with these guys? And can you get their data?" And my reply would be, "Yeah, we have an API." And it's like, "Oh, well, fantastic. Okay, thank you. We'll sign up with you." But I think let's say hoteliers should question a little bit more the vendor, sort of asking, I think, three things you can boil it down. I think one of them is, okay, quality of the API. And in terms of quality of the API, it can be what kind of data, it can be, let's say, how do you do data integrity? So one, sort of assessing the quality of the API. The second one is about frequency. So coming to your distribution. If you have a channel manager that distributes things 10 minutes later, I mean, just forget about it. It doesn't work. So quality, frequency, and then stability. Some evidence of, let's say, hey, we have an uptime of like 99% or 99.8 or whatever that is. And, is this sort of interface failing? So I think three things. So quality, frequency, and stability. And then depending on what you're looking at, you should sort of orientate your questions there. I think that's one when you're sort of looking at interfaces. I think when you're sort of looking at a certain solution, I mean, support, and ultimately you can call it support or customer success, is of utmost importance. For instance, our application, if you install it, is not going to do anything for you. So the way that we're going to support it and the way that we're going to have that discussion with the hotels that is where you're going to get the value out of it. So apart from the technical solution as such, asking questions like, okay, what are the different touch points in sort of helping us use that system? How is your support organized? Where is your support? Are they hotel people? Are they technology people? Do they understand our business? And I think if you work with a company that has, let's say, people that have worked in hotels, then you most likely also have that empathy with, hey, I really understand what you're trying to solve. I understand where your challenge is. And I think that's sort of really, really important to sort of figure out when you're selecting a technology company.
Yeah, absolutely. That it does help sort of understanding overall what are the challenges hotels or revenue managers are facing, and obviously how to help that to overcome those issues. I'm going to ask a bit of controversial question. I think I know which way you can answer, but I would like to answer. So your favorite will be legacy system or sexy new tech, which you discussed last week at extent. Khristina, would you like to take it first?
Look, I'm a big innovator. I'm always pushing cloud. I'm always pushing new technologies. I love cool new things, funky little things. Sexy tech is always kind of one of these things. But standalone. Can't be standalone. I'm sorry. You just can't. The reliability, knowing it's there, it's always going to work. You're not going to have downtime unless you create it yourself. Standalone.
Thank you, Susanne.
Absolutely, 100% standalone. Because when you move to the cloud, losing half the functionality which you get from a standalone system, like Khristina, Journey's a tech agency. We're all about innovation, driving things forward. I love it. But at hotel level, 100% standalone, full functionality, you're far more likely to get the data integrity that you need for that sexy tech if you've got a standalone system.
So we don't see legacy systems disappearing into the history anytime soon. Is that correct? No.
Yeah.
Okay, Vasilis agrees with it as well.
Yeah, and it's sort of controversial, I know, and some people will say, like, is that really true? But if I look at the quality of data we get, our best data quality is actually coming from a legacy system, and probably the second best is also a legacy system. So, yeah, interesting. I think the new ones still have a long road to get there, but definitely.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. We discussed yesterday talking about brands and whether we see brands being kind of more bigger distribution channels, or do they actually deliver kind of results from sales and marketing point of view? There is a bigger discussion. Are we going to see more hotels signing up right now to become part of the brands? There is argument to that, but there's also counter arguments that may not be the case. I would like to hear panel's opinion on this, please.
Yeah, I gave my discussion yesterday. We have multiple brands across our platforms. I call them distribution systems. I worked for Best Western International Hotels and Resorts for a very long time in their head office in the UK and Ireland. And we dealt with everything outside of Europe. To be honest with you, everyone calls us a distribution channel. That's the way I look at it. It's a marketing tool, really. But at the same time, I always question the brand's actual power to driving business to you. I don't think how they're calculating it as a brand is correct. I think they need to start excluding it completely out. OTAs, GDS, anything that I could have got myself shouldn't be there. Simple as. The only thing I'm getting from you is maybe a lesser commission. That's it. So that to me is a distribution channel. And I think their core stuff, such as like their members and their actual percentage of revenue contribution to the hotels, should only be done on whatever comes through brand.com and also through the members. That's kind of only the true revenue that you can actually physically calculate. Whereas if you're sitting there and you see that you're getting all this business because you're a Holiday Inn, a Hilton, a Marriott, whatever you are, well, then you can kind of see that. But, I don't think because of COVID-19, everyone's in a rush right now to sign into brands, because if you do that, if you actually do sign into them, you kind of are stuck. You're stuck in a year's contract, 2 years contract, 3 years. No one wants to be paying franchise fees for that long when they haven't paid it for that long in the past. You're just absorbing cost into something where you can actually invest into something like Susanne's team, which is Journey, who does this stuff, who knows this stuff, lives and breathes travel tech and customer journey. That's what I would do. I would actually go and invest in a proper CRM, proper sales team, proper Journey team like Susanne has, and actually push that to actually drive my revenue. Speak to the people who actually really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
One of the challenges, sorry, Susanne, that it's actually brands right now, as you, Khristina, said, they should be targeted. They should be able to say what is exactly they're delivering. But it's one of the biggest challenges. We actually, not many able to differentiate this information and give a clear information, how much is actually it's delivering extra. Susanne, sorry to interrupt you.
I agree with what you said, Khristina, about the brands. I have a slightly different approach, because when I'm thinking about, for me, it's about the marketing consortiums, it's about design hotels, Rayleigh Chateau, small luxury. And I think about the fees, and they're considered distribution platforms for the luxury hotel market. And then I look at what actually goes on within those distribution platforms in terms of marketing, customer journey. Rayleigh Chateau, which beautiful hotels, amazing service, but I don't see much innovation coming from Rayleigh, and how to actually really drive business, because they're comfortable. And I would like to see the chain codes like Rayleigh, SLH and Design really be more innovative and far more proactive in supporting the hotels, because you're paying a lot of money for it. If not, don't do it. Can you track it and measure it? Don't do it. And then use actually those funds from the budget, VAS, that branded spend and the budget, and direct it to where you can actually see hard and fast action, proper sales action that give you proper results that you can actually see coming through as bookings. So it's a slightly different angle from brands, but it's definitely for the luxury market something that, is that money well spent? That's my question.
Yeah. And actually, just to push one thing, brands always look at legacy systems, never have massive innovation. All the PMS systems that are singling a lot of hotels, except for Hilton and Marriott, who've got their own type ones, are legacy systems who probably don't interact with your CRS anyways. And there was a question about a CRS. Your CRS is only a channel manager. That's the way I see it. I've been working with them for years. It is just this channel manager that pushes everything out for you because you don't have that control with a brand.
Vasilis, what's your view on this subject?
Yeah, no, exactly. And let's face it. I mean, we do know that, you know, in the next 18 months or maybe 2 years, domestic travel will actually be the driver in the recovery. And domestic travel, by definition, is a piece of travel that you are more likely to be able to attract locally with your own marketing efforts, not with a brand that's sitting sort of miles away from here. So absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, because I don't think right now running a campaign with 40% or 60% off, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's not going to make me want to go and travel just because I can save money on it. It just doesn't work. Which brings me interestingly to the, Susanne, you mentioned customer journey. So I want to look a little bit into the exciting future, bright future ahead of us. I want to know about what are the systems and technologies we as a revenue leaders should be looking, to invest or potentially look into the future to implement. For me personally, as a consumer, I'm really passionate about, seamless customer journey. I want to be taken from, inspirational phase from Instagram and being able to book my weekend away in Rome within a matter of minutes. Now, some hotels are able to do that, but not many. So it's still exception to the rule. What are the systems? So what we should be looking once kind of the situation right now kind of stabilized and we went back to the business and so on and so forth, where we should be looking in the future and paying our attention to us and for the revenue management?
That feels like a really set up question. And it's not, because what I'm about to say, we've not discussed, and I wasn't, that's not something we've rehearsed. Journey are a travel tech company. The experience, the customer journey is our absolute driving force. Now, Simon, our CEO, has been hugely passionate about finding a solution that leads towards a retail experience for hotels where you can go onto a website, you can book a room, you can book a spa treatment, you can add gift vouchers, and the whole thing is one cohesive, amazing experience. But the tools that we've built that we're just about to launch, and it's called One Journey, which is why, I know on this platform we're not into plugging our own services, but it's the right time. And One Journey takes care of that front end. So the guest experience is seamless, slick, and you get the repeat. The communication's good, you follow it up, you can add cooking courses. There's a whole ream of information and detail that this one platform does, and we are super excited about the launch of it. But there's a lot of interest already. We're just in beta testing. So the next thing for us will be how we work towards a more user-friendly CRM system that dovetails in with One Journey and that seamless customer experience. So we're really excited about it, and it's about to launch. So watch the space.
Yeah. Apart from Journey absolutely nailing this, is there anyone else that you know in the market who's actually really excelling at it? Because I haven't seen many examples.
I think China, only one that we can really go from and learn from there is China. If you look at like WeChat ties in with Ctrip, ties in with Goda, ties in with Alipay, Google Pay, all these different pay techniques that they're very, very common out there. They have, it's an integrated messaging system. It's got their own version of WhatsApp in there. You can communicate with hotels. That links in then with a PMS. I'm not going to name the PMS, but that actually links in with a really, really cool, nifty PMS that actually controls everything. So, and you can pick your room. You can check in like seamlessly. You can order food through this app to your phone, your room. So if anything, I think we need to be learning from China. I think it's very interesting to think that, over 50 years ago, China was miles behind us. The US was the market leader in technology and everything. And then after the war, the Cold War, I think it was, that's when China took off, because China went, well, why should we be relying on the US to provide everything to us? We should actually be doing this. We're smart enough to get our own resources. And then they just went warp speed, absolutely warp speed. And I think that's something that we as consumers and we as technology and innovators need to actually look at them and kind of go, okay, what are they doing out there that's seamless, that's helping, that's fixing everything? And what can we take to here without massive costs? I understand the cost of labor out there is completely different and the cost of everything out there is different, but we really need to look at cost-centric here in Europe for our providers and our hoteliers as well.
Vasilis, any kind of systems or any recommendations that you think we should be looking for the future as revenue leaders?
I mean, I think there's one direction only to get is everything that I can get more data about the customer will be good. So I think that sort of should be our North Star, whatever that is. So, you know, we need to understand more. China, indeed, absolutely. Like things are so seamless and integrated. I mean, this has evolved so far that if you haven't seen it, it looks almost alien to you. So it's really interesting indeed to look at that piece. And I think another piece where to look at is there's a lot of, you know, when we talk about hybrid accommodation and let's say alternative accommodation and, you know, all that area as well is really moving very, very, very fast. And also the tech that's sort of going in these businesses is quite interesting. So I think sort of having a look around outside of hotels is also something that we should learn about.
Sure.
And also sort of sometimes just getting completely out of it. So saying, you know, I think today that with what's happening out there and the demand that there is, which is not much, you need to almost think like a really good retailer. So you need to sort of borrow things from other industries and look at what other industries are looking and then challenge the vendors and saying, hey, I saw that online retail, they're doing this and this. Like, do you have plans to do that? And it's like, you know, if they sort of stare you with a blank face, then you draw your conclusions.
But yeah, see, think about the platforms that those retail, what that's built on, like Magento, they're big, costly database platforms, aren't they? Oracle, Magento. We are still stuck with SQL. You know, so many systems in hospitality are SQL based. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But I think that's also down to the providers. And if you even go online now, analytical jobs are all based on SQL as well. If you go everywhere, everyone wants you to have some sort of SQL experience. And you're like, that's gone. We've already moved on. Why are we still looking at it? And I don't think, exactly. And I think that's what it is. And it's just driving me crazy. You know, we're in this world where you still have to struggle to get an Excel sheet down. You know, you can't actually manipulate your data still correctly, which I know we've been saying for the last like 4 months, 3 months, 12 episodes. You think these people had learned by now. We even gave our top tips last week. No one has come back saying they're going to build PMS based on what we want. That's the problem. But that is the problem. And that's how people end up with these massive tech stacks, because they need to have Sage Financial. They need to have Salesforce. They need to have another CRM. They need to have a distribution channel. They need to be connected to their website. They need to be connected, you know, and that's where it all just chugs then, because your systems are all chugging all at once and they can only take it so much power, and that just slows everything down. So when you've got your ordinary Joe Sub checking in, it's an ordeal to check in because it's slow and painful.
But there is two kind of thoughts spread away from here. I think hotels need to be kind of this driving force, going to the vendors and saying, well, this is what we want. So, you know, create the product that will match this. And also right now, after the COVID-19, you know, there is every single crisis is followed by a rise of startups. So I'm really hopeful that with that will come new kind of innovative solutions as well. And I mean, there is already lots of new technologies on the market available that will making our life much more easier to analyze and put the best solutions for the customers as well. But I'm kind of aware of the time. We are coming to the end of the session quite soon. I wanted to kind of give something a bit tangible for our listeners and viewers. You know, for anyone who's right now going back to the hotels, reestablishing their reopening strategy, what are the first things that we should be right now doing and tackling? What will be their like go-to advice?
I don't even know where to start. I've come back after.
Yeah, you have come back.
I'm sitting in a hotel today. I think it's just really important now that if you're opening in next week or you're starting your strategy and you've got bookings already, you need to start really drilling into that data, see when they were made and what is their proportion of business, what is the likely that they're going to cancel, and also get in contact with all your group providers. Do that now. It's the first thing you should do. Get in contact with anyone who's doing your groups or giving you rooms, because they're all going to wash back for sure. You've seen, we've seen across the UK and I, so many hotels that are actually struggling to actually gain rooms because they're washing back so late. So the quicker you can wash back everything, the better of a chance you have. And don't be lazy pricing. I've seen so many hotels over the last few weeks that have actually set with the same pricing that they were going to offer during high season already compared to what we should be offering now, even for 2021. Really look into your pricing and your analytics at the moment. Use your tools that you have available and price yourself correctly, adequately, and perfectly within the market where you want to be. Don't even look at your comp set. Just put yourself in the market where you know you're going to pick up that base. That was a mouthful.
Couldn't have put it any better. I couldn't have put it any better than Khristina just did. The only thing I would add to it is when you're putting your messages out there, add value. Make sure that there's a strong value proposition, is a good call to action, and a reason to book your hotel. What I've seen over the last few weeks are, same as Khristina just said, lazy pricing, nothing's really changed, no real innovation coming through, and comms are pretty poor. Get your website up to date. Let's see why you want that customer to walk through your door.
And remove barriers. I mean, make it easy for customers to book you. Just remove everything that can get in the way of conversion. Just, don't put all these barriers that they sort of need to go across to sort of stay with you. And sometimes in hotels, we're very good to do that.
Yeah, I fully agree with that one. What about content? Because right now you don't only have your own website, and right now lots of things will, in terms of conditions, will need to change. Your pricing will need to change, the packages and so on and so forth. But there is also on all online travel agencies. I know that probably right now hotels will be signing up to even more to make their distribution channel even bigger. I mean, for me, that's kind of needs to go. What about content, basically? How important is that? And also there are some consortia parties, wherever your hotel is represented, you need to make sure that it's all relevant. And I think that's where I'm still not seeing those changes happening kind of fast enough.
No, they're not. And I think the OTAs are making it quite hard on hotels to do it as well. They're pushing everyone to, by email, constantly saying you need to do this. Your market managers are getting in contact with you. But sometimes it's really hard to actually find them pieces. Also, if you're the only one that's taking care of multiple hotels or multiple properties and you're managing all this, it's quite hard. And that's one thing I would love in the future. If we could get some sort of hotel content manager that, has an OPN API to everyone, and you can update everything, and it just goes out. Rather than, if you're in a brand, there's another idea. But if you're in a brand and Derbysoft only gets updated once a week, and it only actually refreshes imagery and data, content data, actually every month. So it's not done on a continuous basis. That's a scary thing. So if you're relying on something like that to push it out, that's where you've got problems. And you know what? Pictures are never great quality. Invest, get pictures on your phone, get someone to go around and snap happy. It's good, because that's where everyone needs to have now. I've seen hotels with Christmas packages. I'm booking staycations with Christmas packages for last year, and Easter packages for this year. And you're like, guys, why should I book you if you can't even fix your website?
Yeah, exactly. I think it does go back to the quality. And right now, as many of you kind of agree to, as said before, it's about the content that you have. You have a great opportunity to capture the right clients, but make sure that content really represents you and what you have put into place. And also, how much we already discussed about they're giving reassurance to the customer, all about the cleanliness procedures. That needs to be updated as well. And not just on the brand website, but on all other, wherever you are represented, really.
Just one second on that, because if you go onto booking.com now, there's actually nothing about COVID-19 up there. So I'm filling in all this stuff on booking.com and all the OTAs, Expedia, everywhere, and it's not even appearing. I'm getting messages from guests saying, what are your security? What are you doing? How are you making it safety? So put everything on your brand, set up a really nice page on your brand, all about what measures you're taking, and push it to there. Because even if they will have to do something then, if they keep seeing in the chat boxes on booking.com, Expedia and everything, you pushing your direct website, because you know what will happen? People will cancel and rebook direct, because obviously book direct is always cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think the final note is that Berengere is saying to us that before we look into the system, we should know really what we're looking for. So setting up the KPIs and what you want to get out of any system and what you're trying to achieve is a starting point, I think, for many discussions. I think we have come to a close to the session. We've covered a fair bit of questions as well. Next week, we will be talking about digital marketing, merging with revenue, which I know Susanne is very passionate about. So, and that's probably that's probably where the future will go. So we can't. It's going to be a really exciting discussion next week. But still, thank you very much for joining us today. You have been absolutely pleasure. Thank you for your expertise and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. And if anyone else watching the session, if you have any further questions, please feel free to get in touch with us directly. Tomorrow, WHTT is also running session. There's Spanish and Spanish language, so please join that session as well. That's a new branch for WHTT, and we'll be back next week. Thank you all very much, and also to B, who is managing the LinkedIn Fast today. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.